this is how you would basically stack a list. So I'm going to go in list stacking, click on add, and let me go into my test file. So let's say I'm going to take my absentee list of 4,000 people. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and upload this. So what we're doing is, so this is the list that I have. These are the columns in my spreadsheet. This is pretty standard, whether you get your list from CrossStream, list source, or driving for dollars. These are pretty standard, and in most cases it would map how the information needs to be mapped. So these are all the information columns that you're mapping here: last name, first name. You just want to make sure like the property address, mailing address, first name, last name, it's all mapped correctly. This is good. Property, city, state. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to map for this purpose. So do not import, and I'm going to call this my absentee. All right, I'm going to create a new list. My absentee list. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and submit. So it'll take a couple of minutes for the file to get imported. But basically what it's doing is it's taking the list of my 4,000 people and it's scrubbing it against the USPS updated address. So even if you have some addresses like 123 Main Street and you misspelled, let's say Chicago, instead of CHICAGO, it just says CHICGO. So it'll clean up all the addresses. So see, it took less than a minute. So I have, out of this list of 4,000, I have 3,561 valid address. So once you upload a list, that's another value that you get just using list stacking. But once you upload a list, it cleans up all your addresses against USPS. So it tells me out of the 4,000 addresses, I have 3,561 valid property addresses. 400 are invalid. So it could be invalid because maybe you just have the street address. You just have 123 Main Street, no city, state, or zip code. So there's no way for the system to know which city, state the property is in. And then I deleted all the addresses before, so it didn't update anything. And there were 39 duplicates. So again, it cleaned up all my lists. So I'm going to go ahead and upload another list. For this purpose, I'm just going to use driving for dollars, and it should map everything. Just going to make sure it looks good. Do not import. And this I'm going to call my driving list. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So now it's taking the list of 1,000 people that I have and doing the same process, uploading it in the system. I didn't check this list, but there should be some addresses that get updated. So I'm going to give it a minute for it to get. All right, so this is perfect. So if you see right here, the initial list that I uploaded of 4,000, I had about 3,500 valid addresses, 400 invalid, and there's some duplicate. Now, when I take my driving for dollar list of 1,000 records, so if I was not using list stacking, right, what I would do is I would take my list of absentee of 4,000, I would send out direct mail to them. So I've sent out 4,000 pieces of direct mail. Then I would take my list of driving for dollars, I take those 100 people, 1,000 people, sorry, and I would send out direct mail to them. So again, like I was talking, in this example, I would send out 5,000 pieces of direct mail. But if you look right here, what happens is before I send any marketing, I upload the list in my system. It tells me, okay, out of 4,000, 3,500 valid addresses. But the interesting thing is for my driving for dollar list, it updated 997 addresses, meaning they were already in the system in my list stacking, and they just got updated if I had any new information. So, if I had new first name, last name, or any other information, it just updated. So all of these 1,000 records, all of these, these 997 out of these 1,000 records were already included in my absentee list. So there's absolutely no need for me to send any marketing to my driving for dollar list if I've already marketed to my absentee list. So that's one part. The second part is, let's say if I only had money to send direct mail to only 1,000 people, then I would make sure I am only sending mail PC to these 1,000 people that are on my driving list and also on my absentee list, because I've already made sure like these are my absentee list. And while driving for dollars, I noticed some point of distress looking at their property. There was some need of some sort of repairs to the property. That's why I added them. So now these 1,000 people are on my driving for dollar list based on the condition of the property as I was driving, and they're also on my absentee list. So these are the only 1,000 people that I would want to target. So if I go back here, so I've got 4,070 properties, so these are leads. So that's why, there's more than 4,000. Now, what I could do is I could say, all right, I want to see everyone that's on my absentee list, and that's also on my driving list. And I could either do or, so they're either on my absentee list or driving list. But for this purpose, what I want to see is that they're on both my lists. So if I do that, so these are the 997 properties. If I go back here, so these 997 properties are right here. And if you look right here, list and tags, so they're on both my absentee and driving list. So another thing you could do is, so again, if you only had budget to send marketing pieces to 1,000 people, then this is the list of 1,000 people that you want to send to, because they have two motivation points. They have absentee, and based on driving for dollars, there's some condition of the property from Exceeder that you could tell it's in need of repair. So this is your way more targeted list. Another thing you could do on top of this is, and it's pretty standard in any list stacking, we do this in REsimpli, you could also look at the vacant data. So if you do vacant, of the 997 properties that are on my absentee list and driving for dollar list, there are 70 properties that are vacant. So this is even more targeted list. So you started with 4,000 absentee, and then out of those 4,000, you looked at like 1,000 that are on absentee and your driving for dollar list. And then of those 997, there's 70 properties that are vacant. So you're sending mail pieces to these all 997, but these 70 properties, what you could do is you could skip trace them, and you could actually call them, or you could do a totally different marketing campaign that's specifically, targeted to vacant properties. You could say, hey, Jose, I noticed that, the property that you have at 6616 McCook Avenue, I understand it's been vacant. It's a vacant property. I love buying vacant properties. So it's very, very specific to that owner for vacant property. So that's another, benefit you get of stacking your list. You can make your marketing pieces way more targeted by reaching to specific owners about specific pain points. So now this gives you 3 pain points. So it tells you it's absentee, vacant, absentee list, driving list, and also vacant. So this is the column for vacant. This right here tells you, this icon tells you that the property address is vacant. And this right here tells you that both property and mailing address are both vacant. So wherever you're sending mail to this person at 4607 Ash Avenue is also vacant. So you may not want to send mail to that person at that property because it's vacant. So it's going to probably come back as return mail. One thing to keep in mind is this data is updated by USPS. So it's not going to be 100% accurate. I would say based on my experience, I've seen it be off by 60 to 90 to 3 months. But again, 80 to 90% of this would be accurate. Again, this is coming from USPS, so it's pretty standard data. This is how everybody kind of has that flag vacant filter. But again, this is 80, 90% accurate. It'll give you really good data that you should still target. What we do in our business is, even if it says the mailing address is vacant, we still end up sending them mail and just get a confirmation as a return mail. If it come back as return, then we remove them for future mailing. And there's going to be some addresses, for example, there might be this one that USPS is not showing as vacant, but when you actually send them mail piece, it might actually come back as return mail. It's just USPS hasn't updated their database yet. It might have gone vacant, let's say yesterday, and now USPS tries to deliver it today. So, it takes them like 2 to 3 months to get the system updated, but it might come back as vacant. So then you go in and you update your database. So they send out mail to this person, it comes like return, then I'll just go ahead and update a return mail, yes, knowing that, okay, the mail that I sent to this person came back as return mail. So I don't need to mail them again. There's a different marketing channel that I might want to use, like calling them, texting them, or, figure out some other way to reach to them.